Oh, hello. Yes, hello. Don in London. It's February the 16th. Sorry, I was hearing the dog bark downstairs. I just wondered if it was going to go into a fit. Anyway, Don in London, February the 16th, 2013. My video is all about recovery from addiction to either substance or behaviour. Substance could be alcohol, drugs, coffee, tea, nicotine, whatever it is, just enormous amounts of food, addicted to doing something which is harmful and can't stop, and behaviour as well. So mine was alcohol, alcoholic in recovery, and also addicted to being with the right people, in the right places, with the right things, doing the right things, and trying to be perfect, and never so. So these days, what's the difference? Well, I don't drink one day at a time, and I am involved in ongoing recovery, which happens just for today. And what's made this possible? Well, seeing professionals, getting dried out, spending years and years of trying to stop on my own and unsuccessful, because I thought I ought to be able to do it on my own. And the real eye-opener was I didn't have the answers, and in the end I had no clue. And as life could get no worse, I considered, well, if it can get no worse and still be alive, I am allowed at last to ask for help. And then the professional said, we can't help you all the time, and you're an addict. What are you going to do next? Well, the right answer for an addict is to go fix in some way or other, or try and find a way to be sober. And they suggested I go to AA, Alcoholics Anonymous, and any other fellowship which might help with my other addictions, whatever they might have been or might turn out to be today. So if something's going on an addictive level, there is a way to get back to ordinary, sober living, which is extraordinary. So for me, the Fellowship of Alcoholics Anonymous became the place to be, to learn how to be sober one day at a time. I don't speak for AA, because if you are in AA, I cannot speak for you. There are no leaders in AA. We are all in the same boat, equal to each other, and we make decisions together as to how to run meetings and how to keep sober one day at a time, and share that knowledge, experience, strength and hope. So AA was born out of adversity and necessity, because one single person and no single person has the complete answer to sobriety. We need help and support to be included, to understand what we can do and what we can't do today. So that's where my videos come from. A desire to share experience, strength and hope of what fellowship is, and I'm going to utilise this little AA book to share the AA preamble first, and then share some thoughts and feelings, or feelings and thoughts which have occurred to me this morning. So, what is AA? Alcoholics Anonymous is a fellowship of men and women who share their experience, strength and hope with each other, that they may solve their common problem and help others to recover from alcoholism. And you'll find the same in any fellowship who are using the 12-step program of how to live a happy life when it can be happy. The only requirement for membership is a desire to stop drinking. There are no dues or fees for AA membership. We are self-supporting through our own contributions. And although everybody in fellowship has the following, the fellowship itself is not. So AA is not allied with any sect, but you can be. Denomination, but you can be. Politics, organisation or institution, but you can be. Does not wish to engage in any controversy, neither endorses nor opposes any causes, but you can be. In other words, you keep what you believe to be right for you, and the fellowship just gets you sober. And it says here, our primary purpose is to stay sober and help other alcoholics to achieve sobriety, and not necessarily or obviously to take on our points of view, opinions, beliefs and controversies, causes things we contribute, things we don't like, and things we do like. You get to do all that for yourself. So the only thing that fellowship is there to do is to help share experience, strength and hope of what helps a person keep sober. And in order to do that, you will hear every belief, controversy, opinion, cause, affiliation to sects, denominations, because that's what humans do. They join in where they feel they like joining in. I never wanted to join in with AA because it was going to take away my best friend, alcohol, and the notion that I could keep on fixing myself in some way, and if I kept on fixing my feelings, life would be alright. But the bloody feelings got worse and worse, and my emotional state got worse and worse, and my connection to reality got worse and worse, to the point where oblivion was preferable to the horror of living life. It doesn't mean life is going to be joyful and extraordinarily wonderful all the time. Life on life's terms, living reality, good, bad and ugly, coping with the good, bad and ugly of life. Now, what an order that a fellowship could help you do that. Well, the good news is it can only do it one day at a time, and it can only do it if you're asking for help. So I had to ask for help. I had to stop thinking that I was put on this earth to stand on my own 2 feet, do it all myself, and think I knew better than you. And the answer was, I don't know better than you. Only you know what is right for you, ultimately. And once we come to the conclusion, well, I came to the conclusion sober was better than, I don't know, spangled is a good word. Yeah, spangled, in oblivion, desolate and unable. That's where I got to. A burnt out case, ready for the knacker's yard, which is very interesting because the knacker's yard features heavily in the news these days. We now know where the horse and donkeys go. They don't go to heaven, they go into your ready meals. Why should bring things like that up? Well, to make sure you know this is authentic and it's happening today. And school kids are being fed, or have been being fed, horse, donkey and God knows what else. And depending on your religious beliefs, the criminals have run roughshod. They put a horse and coach in between you and your beliefs, which is not nice. So, for me today, I do see the humorous side of life, and we are allowed all our emotions in recovery. So don't feel for a moment that there are any wrong emotions, but there can be wrong actions based on how we feel and how we think. So it's what we do which counts in the end. We will be judged by our actions and not our intentions. So for today, 16th of February, I feel alright today. I still start to feel more alright when I realise that truth wins out in the end. Anyway, emotional and spiritual. What is it? Experiencing feelings as they are in the moment of now, whether they are good, bad or ugly, or all of them at once, depending on the issues which are going round in our heads. Restored to sanity in this good, bad or ugly world, and ugly world, where can we experience our feelings in the moment of now? Where we can experience our feelings in the moment of now is really important, and they need be no bigger or smaller than they are, based on what is happening right now. So people can feel outraged, quite rightly, that they've been fed horse and donkey, unless you're posh, of course, in which case your beef comes on the slab, as it were, rather than pre-packed in a ready meal, unless you're extraordinarily busy, in which case you rich people are eating horse and donkey as well, much to the amusement of criminals across Europe. Yes, if we understand our feelings, how they impact on our thinking, if we understand our feelings, how they impact on our thinking, on the way we behave and act, then we know the how and why, and maybe the what to do next. Good feeling, good thinking, good actions. Bad feelings, bad thinking and bad actions. ugly feeling, ugly thinking, ugly actions. Virtuous feelings, virtuous thinking, and virtuous actions, hopefully, or lustful feelings, lusty thinking, and lusty actions. Mind you, I haven't had the latter for a very long time, recent days anyway. I still get the lusty feelings, the thinking's still lusty, but the actions are a bit scarce at the moment. But that's all right. I'm me. I know what's going on. At least I hope I do. So this thing of being restored to sanity, all the things I'm talking about, restoration to sanity in February, step 2, came to believe a power greater than me could restore me to sanity. And it's really important. Being restored to sanity is part of the journey, one day at a time. In an instant, because I have a brain full of experiences, I can be drawn into olden times and reactions that used to fit with my old outlook and attitudes. That I knew best. I put on a brave face, covered up my fear, shame and guilt about being less than, and said, I can do it. Well, sometimes I can't. So, most of the time it's better to ask and be included rather than to dominate and think you're right. And sometimes in the days of insanity, those old actions and attitudes and outlooks were not wrong for those times. But today I can see the difference in my mood, my thinking and the actions which follow. Just because somebody else behaves badly, I don't have to join in. Just because somebody else needs to take the edge off, I don't have to join in. I can take the edge off with truth. Accept the truth of now. And it takes the edge off because it's just what it is. And just because I feel like the world is doing me down and is against me, or is against me, or is it against me? Actually, I don't believe the world is against me. The world is not prejudiced. People, places and things may be, depending on who I am and how I behave today. So I don't know better than you, ever, what is right for you. I might be dismayed by what you do if you take a drink and you're an alcoholic, but I won't shun you. I won't say you're a write-off, because I was a write-off in my own mind. And it was only when people said, no, you're not a write-off, you could be right on. The reason why you drank is this, and now you know. Driven insane by the situation. Anyway, coming on to real life, cover-up and spin doctors. Covering up the truth, not taking responsibility when in charge, not being accountable when accountable, unfair distribution of money, the rich eat beef, the poor unwittingly eating horse and donkey. I don't even know if the prime corned beef I had at Christmas, which came from Harrods, the most popular shop on the planet for expensive things. My corned beef from Harrods, prime corned beef from Harrods, was it really corned beef at all? I don't know. And now it seems the whole world fashions itself on deceit, and governments and commercial industries valiantly avoid the truth at all costs. Usually the cost is always at the expense of those they serve in one form or another. So, your government's lying to you right now. Well, we had nothing to do with it. It was nothing to do with reducing the workforce in the Food Standards Agency by half. So even if they were slackers, as we thought they were, this is the government speaking, not me, we didn't need them, and there was no problem with horse meat, which was last reported in 2003, as if the problem would go away just because we identified it. Arseholes. I'm allowed to say that. It's part of the truth of now. And now it seems the whole world fashions itself on deceit, etc., etc. The industry of lying, here we come. Usually the cost is always to those they serve in one form or another. So whether you're a consumer or being served by politicians, you still get the same shit. And now we're eating it. Well, it's not, because, I'm sure they were fed well whilst they were alive. The industry of lying, well, that's another point. We don't know what goes into the grass, which is always greener these days. And why is that? It's not down to sunshine. We don't seem to have any round here these days. The industry of lying, avoidance and evasion and hiding behind legal edicts. Without prejudice. You bunch of wankers. That's what I feel. But the legal edict to never tell the truth seems more transparent these days than ever was. So, allegedly, you may be wankers, liars, and even ruder words that I would choose not to say today, just in case it offends the sensibilities of some fair-spoken people. Anyway, even though it may seem contrary to what we see, the truth is coming out more and more. And it's coming out more often than the old way of covering up just another crisis which never got reported. So if you don't have food safety inspectors, they can't report it, can they? And if we don't have food inspectors or governments held accountable, and all they have to do is tick the box, yes, we've ticked it, we've ticked the box, that's what it means, we've done our bit, we've ticked the box, but they haven't actually done anything, because they're all ruminating and chewing the cud. Well, whatever's at the other end of the process of the cud, that's probably what they're chewing on. Although, you know, it would be a good wheeze if they've all been eating horse and donkey as well in Parliament and in the special dining rooms for directors across the city. Do they have special dining rooms with their own personal chefs? Of course they do. I used to have one. I always felt out of place in it, I must admit. Anyway, the industry of lying, avoidance and evasion, and hiding behind legal edicts to never tell the truth seems more transparent these days than it ever was. Thank goodness that it's more transparent that all these lies, damn lies and statistics are going on. How we choose to live today, as individuals and as world citizens, is becoming even more important for those who wish to be sane. Even though we can see the insanity about and around us day to day, which is people like me and you, if you're in recovery, aiming at truth, love and wisdom, being open, honest and willing to change and face what's real. But, you know, as long as somebody tells me my lasagna wasn't killing me, I'll be all right. I quite like learning every day to be truthful, to be as truthful and loving as I can, making progress and knowing the world has gone, even though I know the world has gone to hell in a handbasket. Large organisations and governments work with self-interest at their heart. Allegedly, I would allege. Rather than the interests of the majority. So they work for their self-interest, their nose in the trough. Yes, their nosebag of enriched hay. I've learned that truth and love do lead to more wisdom, more progress, and not perfection. But you know what? Ignorance is no excuse in the eyes of the law for the poor. But if you're rich, you get paid off, because nobody wants to know your truth, because the expense of knowing that truth means that you can't have your payoff. And we politicians have a place in this, and other government officials have a place in this, and they can't have their payoffs either. But legally it's better to pay them off and sweep it under the carpet, because that's progress. Allegedly. I had some fun this morning, just, you know, feeling life, feeling cross at people. I've learned the truth, that truth, love and wisdom for me on a daily basis, and being open, honest and willing to change is always helping me develop a better outlook on life. At the same time, I am an emotional person and can be very angry at the way other people are manipulated into lying on behalf of something they feel they need to defend, as evidenced by a school person, inspector or something or other, in the north defending their serving up horse and donkey, unwittingly as it may be, that, you know, we're not responsible because we didn't put it in the food chain, and he didn't test it, and he didn't check it, and he were willing to go with what we were willing to go with. Yeah, lies, damn lies, and statistics. An ideology or doctrine will kill people on the other side of it. That is why there is no ideology in the Fellowship of AA. So I can express my opinions here, but I must say they're my opinions, and I don't want you to be unduly influenced by them, unless you find them humorous. Also, we can all be angry at the same time, which is just the way it is. So an ideology or doctrine will kill people. So if it wasn't horse and donkey meat, and if they hadn't been given injections of bute or whatever it is, it doesn't make them beautiful. It's some sort of horse tranquilizer. I don't know. That is why there is no ideology in fellowship. So, you take what works for you out of this, and if nothing works for you, switch off. That's what you do. You make a personal choice for what is right for you. At the same time, people in AA do have their own affiliations, beliefs and opinions, their own ideologies and their own outlooks. All you need to know is that you don't have to adopt other people's notions or beliefs or opinions in the fellowship, which is super for sobriety, and really crap for ideology today. Freedom to choose to accept our situation and reality today. What was my part in the horse and donkey fiasco? Nothing. Except I probably ate it. I still don't know whether my corned beef from Harrods was unadulterated or just prime corned beef. How certain were they? And how certain were they that their profit margin allowed them to buy prime corned beef? Anyway, there we go. And then this notion of being restored to sanity by a higher power. Came to believe I would be restored to sanity by a higher power. The higher power resides in the many and never in one single individual, especially me. Restoration to sanity contingent on being aware of what's going on can actually drive us as insane again, in the sense that we can be mad as hell at life. I don't want to bray on about this. Anyway, with all the injustice in the world and the horse crap, especially when we are new to sobriety, can be the very devil in trying to keep sober. So it's really difficult to be sober when the world looks like horse shit and donkey droppings. Our first encounters with reality after fixing our feelings for so many years, it can be truly brutal, a truly brutal eye-opener to realise that we are full of expectations and entitlements we simply do not have. So when AA, the Fellowship of AA, says, are these extravagant promises about sobriety, and everybody says, we think not. Actually, it's not an entitlement, and I think it's a false expectation, which can cause resentments. If we say, are these extravagant promises, we think not. Actually, you have to earn sobriety one day at a time. And it's cruel in the first days as a newcomer. It's cruel because, reality is very sharp. And it scars deeply. And it makes us want to fix reality with oblivion, or just not connected to it. So the entitlement and expectation and the promise of sobriety, I wouldn't go for it. I didn't buy it as an idea, but suddenly after 90 days of excruciating not drinking and going to meetings, I suddenly realised that I didn't fear quite as much as I used to. I didn't have to put on a brave face, and I was rattlingly sober after 90 days. And it was a bit of a shock that, unaided, I wouldn't have made it that far, because I knew I'd tried so many times, because I kept on promising myself I could do it. And then after 90 days of excruciatingly endeavouring and working hard at it, didn't get much sleep, but I did get to 90 days clean of alcohol and mad as a fucking hatter. Anyway, some people might still think that, but that's alright. But the point is, I couldn't do it on my own, and I had to listen to people, sometimes talking over and over again about the same problem with their neighbour. And I hadn't been driven to drink by it, but my neighbour, every time I look out through the curtains, they're there, drinking that can of beer in my face. Anyway, you see, we are human more than anything, and the good news is, in recovery, feelings come back. It's just then, what the fuck do we do with them? So, the higher power resides in the many, and never in one single individual, especially me. Restoration to sanity contingent on being aware of what's going on can actually drive us insane again, in the sense that we can be mad as hell at life. With all the injustice in the world, especially when we are new to sobriety, it can be the very devil in trying to keep sober. Our first encounters with reality are after fixing our feelings for so many years. In my case, it can be truly brutal, an eye-opener to realise that we are full of expectations and entitlements we simply do not have. And the harsh reality and the cold light of day can seem very unfair when we feel we have fallen into addiction, even though we had no intention and just simply wanted to fix our feelings when they were raw or when they were joyful, and we wanted to extend the joy more instantly and continuously with a lock-in. I suppose I wanted happiness and a way to get there as quickly as possible. I'll put that as a question mark. I suppose I wanted happiness and a way to get there as quickly as possible. I would work hard and party hard. I just wasn't built for it, was I? Actually, nobody is built to live at extremes. You can't have the shinola without the shit, or horse crap, as it turns out. Anyway, you know, what's the problem with horse and donkey? What's the problem with organic food? It's covered in crap. You still have to wash it. Oh, if you want to. I just chuck them in a pan. A bit of shit never hurt anybody. That's what my father used to say. But of course it can be very dangerous. Anyway, here we go. Apparently in the UK and in Europe, this is reported today in the news. We've been feeding horse and donkey to children in schools. This is allegedly. I don't know which schools have been buying horse and donkey to feed to children, but you know, the impact, the emotional impact, the crisis in our children, you know, Christmas carols, Christmas plays, you know, and Jesus and Mary Magdalene and the donkey. I don't know. Anyway, here we go. I'm just going to go back to what I wrote. You know, Shrek and Donkey would really get on my wick when this comes on, because Donkey was a good character, and to imagine that we've been eating donkeys, if I was a kid, I'd be mortified. Or would I see the funny side of it? Anyway, I don't know which schools have been buying horse and donkey to feed to children. I do know it's more likely to have been on the menu in schools with a little money and a poor menu of processed food. After years of campaigning by celebrity chefs to improve the diet of youngsters to no good effect, schools have doggedly... Now, I don't want to introduce dogs into the food chain. Well, we don't in this country, do we? Do we? Doggedly kept on budgeting. These are the people. Schools have doggedly kept on budgeting and driving down costs, and has led to criminality and the insanity which now prevails. No accountability and no responsibility is taken by those in any part of the supply chain for their part in it, including the horses and the donkeys, who were powerless over the people, the places and the things, namely abattoirs, where they ended up. Nobody noticed the amount of glue being made recently and where it came from. Anyway, and when will we be restored to sanity? Progress not perfect today. I was going to ask for horse and donkey stock cubes in my local supermarket yesterday. It was based on the notion of doing the same thing over and over again and expecting the same flavour in my lasagna today. So anyway, me and my outlook today. I'm not trying to be cryptic or sarcastic, or maybe I am, because you know, I've seen how it works behind the scenes. I've seen the big legal departments compartmentalised so nobody sees the big picture. I've seen how board directors have been diminished so that they don't see the big picture. I've seen directors who have their own personal agendas, who are very, very clever people, chief execs and finance directors usually, or the odd banker, very gifted intellectually, who can see the broad picture, doesn't illuminate it for everybody else. See how they work and worked. Not all of them, some were good folks, but they tended to get retired early because they were just too much in the way of profit. And they also had integrity, and they had ethics, the ethics of their institutions. Yeah, anyway, there you go. I like integrity which is about open, honest and willing, being fair with people. Integrity is a big word. They can fall either side of it. So, you know, it's personal choice always. So what's going to keep you sober today? Can do, cannot do, and the wisdom to know the difference. If I want to be sober, truth, love and wisdom work for me. Being open, honest and willing works for me. I prefer to cope with the reality of now. And if I don't know what the reality of now is, I can ask for help. So the whole of the 12-step program, being restored to sanity, by the many and not by a single person, and especially not me. And I mean that most seriously. Mine is one outlook which you may come into contact with. It's the many in fellowship. Those who are in a state of insanity coming in, and if you knew, you might be one of those. I certainly was. Those who've got a little bit of sobriety, then a bit more sobriety, and a bit more sobriety which works just one day. And then we all seem to be in the same day, helping each other as best we can through unity, service and recovery. That's fellowship. Now you can adopt the same principles in your life, which may turn it around a bit and put you on the track of being the human being you may wish to be. The person you can really be, one day at a time. And just learn how to cope with feelings. If feelings fit with what's going on now, they're probably working in the moment of now. And those feelings can be every single one of the ones we have in our heads. There is no bad feeling in our heads. There is just sometimes extremes which are hard to cope with. The rest of them have their place depending on life. So if we're in an ugly situation, we probably feel ugly. Can do, can't do. Cannot join into ugly because it's going to bring me down. Unless there's an absolute necessity to be there for some reason, move on. Don't live in the shadow of other people telling you what to do. Live in the full light of who you can be today. And I don't know about God. God works through people. God is truth. God is love. I cannot define God. And there are 7 billion people on the planet with their own understanding of God. Be there one or not. God figures, because we have this inner voice inside us. And we think, what's that voice telling me this morning? I feel good. Actually, I felt shit 2 hours ago. I don't know what was wrong with me, but I really felt ill. And I had to do my medicine. And now I don't feel quite so shit. Actually, I feel okay having shared. For a long time, 33 minutes. Goodness me, I feel I may have to cut these back, but you know what I know is people switch off when they're ready, and that's good. So if you're ready now, nearly time to go. The Serenity Prayer, the can do, can't do, wisdom to know the difference in the moment of now. So in order to get back to a place of peacefulness and serenity, just for the moment or today, this Serenity Prayer, whether you believe in God or not, I don't know what I believe in, and it still works. So to God, God, grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. And if I don't know the wisdom, I ask, and keep on asking if it's really important, so I can progress a little bit further today. It doesn't mean I'm going to get my own way. It's about progress, not perfection, about being included, loved, and a part of something bigger than me, the universe, just for today.